Who are you?
Run. I said, run.
Alright, I just got back from an event where Ubisoft had invited me out to play Star Wars Outlaws. And boy, do I have some thoughts on what this is and what this isn't. And I'm gonna try to relay that to you now so you know what to expect when this one drops. This game's already been surrounded in a lot of controversy thanks to this page right here. And at the end of this video, we'll dive into that a little bit more. But first, let's talk about the thing that matters. The gameplay, and is it going to be worth playing in the first place? And for full transparency here, we're not actually watching me play the game, we're watching someone at Ubisoft. They're just playing through the exact same sections of the game that I played through. So let's watch some gameplay and let's talk about it. And I will say that before I went to the Ubisoft event, I watched someone else play through sections of the game, and watching someone else play it as a stealth game really didn't do it justice. All right, so right now you've got the main character stealth missioning through this section. You've got yourself, and then you've got your little sidekick, this alien monkey thing. I think based on what I was told by the people at Ubisoft there, they wanted you to play this mission more like you're gonna see them play it and nothing like I actually played it myself. So they're using their little alien pet to distract the enemy. I am not much of a stealth person. Like in any game, if I have the option to stealth, I'm probably gonna go in guns blazing if that's an option. And that's exactly what I did. I went in and I started with trying to use my little sidekick to distract them, but it was just a little bit slow for my taste. Instead, I ended up massacring absolutely everybody on this station here that she's walking through. As you can see though, if you're into stealth, you can definitely play a stealth version of this game. On the left there, you can press your left button to have your menu commands come up for your alien sidekick. You can press up on the D-pad to have them do things. You can also press down on the D-pad to heal yourself. There you can see that she stealthed those people down. I took them all out with my laser before I entered the room.
Here goes.
Here's the first mini puzzle that we ran into. This is a lot like Wordle. If you've ever played Wordle, same thing. You guess the first row and then it tells you which ones you got right, which ones you got wrong, and perhaps one that you got right, but it was in the wrong spot. And so you just go through it. And even if you don't know what you're doing on that puzzle, you'll more than likely get through it because of the way that it assists you. It makes the ones that you rule out impossible to select. And so by the end of these early puzzles, or at least this one, maybe this is an early game puzzle where it's a lot easier to mess it up because I got through it without even understanding it the first time I ran into the puzzle. We'll run into it again a little bit later and we can talk about that. So one thing that you're going to notice as she's going through this game, this is another puzzle. It's a rhythm puzzle. So you listen to the rhythm and then you click or you push your joystick on the beat. And so that's what she was doing right there, that puzzle. Now, this is a lot more like the gameplay that I experienced. I was going in, shooting everyone with my laser. I found this to be a lot more fun than stealthing around, but that's just personal preference.
You want to live through this, you'll get that thing open.
The game looked good, great even. The graphics looked solid. The gunplay felt fine. It wasn't revolutionary, but it was fine. It was definitely serviceable. You have a laser that comes with a few different options. You've got a stun version of your laser that you can use to stun enemies, but that's got a long cooldown to it. You've got an electric shock version of it that you use on droids and things like that. And then you've got your regular blaster that you just kind of use on everybody else. Then you've also got this ultimate where you can slow time and select all the enemies that you want to shoot that are on screen. Very McCree feeling from Overwatch if you've ever played that. Down at the bottom of the screen, you can see her health. She just used one of her little health packs there. She gets onto the ship. The game is very story driven. So I think the biggest question I had going into this is it's an Ubisoft game. So how much is it going to be like Assassin's Creed and Assassin's Creed Odyssey? You know, they're massive open world Assassin's Creeds. I was kind of hoping for it to lean in that direction, just be really open world, but it feels a lot more on rails than that. It feels much more, you spawn into levels, kind of follow through the level, complete the objectives and come out the other side. And then you get another bit of story. So it's a very story driven experience, which is probably partly why it's not an open world experience per se, or at least the sections of the game that I played through weren't. I only got to do 3 missions. There were open world feeling hubs, like whenever you went to a town, it was really big. It was filled with NPCs, and we'll see some of that here. And so that section definitely had a more open world feeling to it. But right now we're in a space battle. The flight controls on this feels a bit like you would expect it to, I suppose. This person is way better than I was at hitting those moving ships with my gun. So, you know, maybe it's a blessing in disguise that you guys didn't have to witness me trying to shoot these things out of the sky. My aim was horrible here. But as you can see, it works a lot like you think. You've got your pistol, or you've got your cannons, your laser weapons, and then you've got the rocket that they just fired. The rocket's got a pretty long cooldown between uses, so you don't get to use it as often as you'd like. So this mission just had you go out, eliminate a couple people, and then you go to this thing here to wipe your bounty. Basically, you send in a fake signal to everybody saying, hey, stop following them. We're no longer looking for them. They're not here anymore. And so we've just wiped the bounty away from our character. Now we're going to choose our landing destination on this planet. So we chose that first option there. And this is where the game feels the most open worldy, is when you land in this big city. And there's a bit of exploration you can do. There's secret or hidden paths that you can go to. And there's definitely NPCs that have side quests and non-mandatory objectives that you can complete as you play through the game. Once again, the game's looking great. It's definitely got those Star Wars vibes, the music that's playing. I don't think you'll be able to hear it in this video. Maybe you could hear it right there when I stop talking. It's very Star Wars feeling. It's definitely going to deliver a Star Wars story. I think that they did that well. You've got your laser blasters. Interestingly, I didn't see any lightsabers. I think I remember hearing somewhere that this game didn't have lightsabers. So now we're walking through the town. And like I said, as you can see, this part feels very open world. There's a lot of branching paths. There's a lot of places that you can go. You've got the compass at the top of the screen that you're walking towards. It's got a gold symbol there, and that's constantly directing you in the path of your objective. You can press up on your D-pad and it'll bring that diamond down on screen at floor level to tell you where you're going in a more literal sense, as opposed to just being on your compass. It worked well. It was easy to follow. The person playing is doing a bit of RP walk. I didn't do this. I came barreling through here. I didn't look at anything. I just sprinted by to the objective, but it does look nice. She's doing a lot of the interactions herself now, which is what I did. You can have your little alien buddy do a lot of that stuff. You can pull up a menu and have him interact with buttons. So if the last one was an example of the stealth gameplay, this is an example of the jump puzzle gameplay. This is a game made by Ubisoft, the very same people that make Assassin's Creed. And this is probably going to be the most Assassin's Creed feeling section. You'll definitely see the similarities in this section here as you work your way through this linear path to your destination. And you're going to have to traverse and navigate all these jump puzzles. So you've got this hook that you can throw and sling yourself over to these barriers. And instantly your eyes go, okay, yellow equals climbable. That's how this game's going to work. Pretty common in video games. So it's not something that bothers me. It's serviceable. That works. One thing that was convenient is whenever you go into a dark space, your flashlight automatically comes on. She automatically pulls that out. You don't have to do that manually. So it stays pretty immersive in that way. And then you do a lot less fumbling around for the flashlight key whenever you enter dark places. I did like that. Here's a little puzzle where you realize that you have to shoot this with your shotgun to power that. And that's going to be a little mini game that you play throughout this level. Here we go, jumping onto the yellow climbable structure. Very Assassin's Creed feeling. And again, we've got another one of those puzzles where you look for the 2 devices that you can shoot and power the door. Easy enough. These are all very simple puzzles. None of the puzzles I ran into were difficult enough to become frustrating. I never had to really stand still for more than a couple seconds to figure them out. I'm not sure if that's because this is a section of the game that happens really early on and things get more complicated later on, but all of the parts of the game I saw, the puzzles were very simple. This thing boots up and then you see the holes that your character's clearly going to be, they're yellow. You're supposed to put your hands there and climb on up. So here she goes, going up. As you can see, some of the doors closed, so you've got to be pretty strategic. This was another jump puzzle that wasn't complicated. Once you saw it, you pretty much knew what to do. I got through this one on the first try. Just barely. This thing almost pinched my fingers right here, which I'm sure would have made me fall down to my death. And then she activates this. If you take a second to like take in the size of the room, this is a big room. There was a lot that happened in here, a lot that we didn't see even, where you're running around and jumping. So the spaces are pretty large. They do a good job with scale in the game. The little buddy that's running around with me, I can take it or leave it. I like to do the work myself, but I'm sure I'm going to appreciate it more when I start doing missions where he saves my butt.
Oh, yeah, perfect. Nav computer will be in the console.
Okay. I can't pry this open. I think it needs authorization.
Now we're approaching the end of this mission here, and we run into a couple of tougher enemies. These were the first two enemies that were so thick and spongy, I actually had to reload to knock them down. I'm curious to see how they're going to take it, probably much more strategically. I just ended up blasting. Yeah, she's going to use the alien buddy. So she sends it up there to explode. And there you go. Alternatively, she could have just shot that thing a few times and it would have exploded. So that's how that little alien buddy felt for me is, yes, I could take the time to control him and tell him to run all the way to the thing and then spam the button to tell him to interact with it. Then you wait for him to run over to it. Or I could just shoot it twice myself. There's not a right or a wrong way to do it. He's definitely useful, but not necessary. I'm really curious to see how essential he becomes in later levels or in other parts of the game. And it did have a reload mechanic that you just saw on the screen there. When your character goes to reload, you can fail the reload mechanic and it will take significantly longer to finish the reload animation if you don't push the trigger in the right spot there as it's counting down.
Fail.
This lady here just apparates next to us.
Big misunderstanding. I don't care.
And the building starts coming down, and so we are going to make a break for it. And we get a pretty cinematic chase sequence here that was pretty fun. It was pretty exciting one to play through. You know, it's one of those ones where it kind of gets your blood pumping as you're working your way through it. The combination of music, the environment exploding and deteriorating around you. I failed that jump because I didn't see it on my first try, and you're running through here. And it falls and you slide in, right? This was all done really well. And I think the game's gonna be full of set pieces like that. And I think that's a large part of why it has the more, you know, on rails experience going on for it, is because it's gonna be very story driven, very curated experiences that you're running into as you play through this Star Wars game. We've got a cutscene. Another thing I noticed that we had quite a few of in the very short time that I played is a lot of cutscenes, very heavy on the story.
Just come quietly. Who are you?
And this awesome guy shows up. Saves our butt.
Run.
Tells us to run. You just stood there holding onto the grenade. I guess that's one of the upsides of being a robot. You know, don't value your life all that much. All right, this is the final piece of footage and the final mission that I was able to play through. You start off in this snowy town here, which felt pretty immersive. The weather, the people, definitely hit those Star Wars vibes for me.
This is a restricted area. You need to back away right now.
Fine. I hear you.
We go through some cinematic dialogue. Looks up there. I'm kind of curious to see if anything different happens from what my playthrough was, like if she takes a different path. But so far, our paths have been identical, which kind of leads me to believe that it's a very on-rails experience.
I hear you.
We leaped forward quite a bit. She had traversed through some vents and things to get to this point. We're going to use our little buddy to distract him, something I definitely didn't do. So when you get them distracted, you can sneak up to them and then melee them by pressing X. I tried to do that, but I ended up running up to the guy and then shooting him in the face just because I hit the wrong button. My hands were not used to the buttons because it jumped into the middle of the game, having never played it before. And so I had a lot of fat fingering going on. And because I shot him in the face, this whole place was alerted, and I believe everybody here was looking for me and shooting at me. So I'm curious to see how stealth they go with this playthrough. Like I mentioned before, when I watched them play through this game, it didn't look nearly as interesting as when I played it myself. I will say that, you know, if you're having any reservations watching the gameplay, it was a lot more fun to play than it looked when I was watching someone else play it. I think that's mostly the case for all games. It is a very on-rails experience. From what I saw, it's very linear. It's not an open world Star Wars game, as far as I could tell, which is what I was thinking it was going to be. I thought it was going to be a lot more open world than it is. So she's stealthing her way through this place. There was a lot of death when I came through here.
See something?
Now she's got the compass marker on the top. It's kind of telling her where she needs to go. And it's telling her that it's down there. So this part I had to look around a little bit. It says steal the relic and disable the energy barrier. So what she needs to do here is find this key. So since I had killed everybody, I found the key on accident because I looted all the corpses. So I had that, and then I stumbled onto that door and I was like, oh, cool. Again, if you're someone that prefers to go in blasting, you seem to do just fine. If all this stealth is kind of scaring you and you're like, ah, man, that looks a bit slow for me, don't worry, you don't have to stealth. Cause yeah, see all this crouching, man. I know some people love stealth. I'm so glad that they let me do it the other way, which is a common theme, actually. We'll talk about in the Assassin's Creed section. They have a solution for that as well, where they've got options. Are you a stealth player or are you a guns blazing type of player? It's a really cool way that they approach that. We'll talk about that. Okay, we've got that mini game again that we did earlier. This time, I kind of knew what I was supposed to do, so I did a little better. You know, the yellow ones means it's a good symbol, but it's the wrong place. The blue ones means it's the right symbol in the right place. She didn't hit any red ones, so there was no symbols that she wasn't supposed to use at all. So she was able to quickly get through there. If none of that makes sense, don't worry about it. Once you start spamming buttons in there, it's almost impossible to fail. So she used the shock weapon on the robot first, and then she switched back to her blaster there. Like I mentioned, you've got a few different settings for your weapon. She didn't show it on this one. You can also pick up the weapons that the people drop, like that weapon on the floor right there. You can pick that up and you could use it to great effect on your future encounters. It does significantly more damage than your little pistol that you're carrying around. Like that one right there, she's not picking up as well. So she's just not touching any of the weapons. She's going for the pure pistol playthrough. She's pistol whipping everybody here. There, yeah, there it is. Okay, I grabbed that weapon. There's a grenade. She grabbed the grenade. All right, she's gonna use it. Boom. I didn't figure out how to use the grenade, so I picked it up and never threw it. I did pick up the gun and use it though. You aren't able to keep the gun permanently, it seemed like. So I was able to pick it up as a temporary item, and then like after I interacted with something else, it would drop it. Or I think if I ran out of ammo, she would just drop it. There she did her special where she selected both enemies and shot them both, you know, with her ultimate there. And now she's back in town.
Are you gonna try your luck?
You can see it's a nice big town. This is the part of the game that does feel more open world than the rest. I didn't have time to investigate all these paths, but it appears that there are branching paths that you can walk around in. I saw a question mark on the compass there and a couple other things. So I think that this is, you know, definitely a hub where you can go find NPCs, pick up side quests. And now she's going to return the relic to the queen. It's a bit of story here.
Why?
They may perceive you as the thief.
Oh, right. I'll be fine.
The voice acting seemed good. Cutscenes seemed good. Graphics seemed solid. They are not blow you away graphics. I didn't see anything that was like, wow, this is next gen, but it was good. It was all good. And those are the 3 missions of the game that I got to play through. I guess the biggest takeaways for me personally were that you've got the little sidekick that you control. The game is designed with a heavy emphasis on making sure you have the ability to choose a stealthy playthrough, sneak up on enemies, incapacitate enemies. I decided to test the other way and ignore all of those mechanics and just go in guns blazing, guns hot every single time. And that worked out fantastic as well. So you could play it both ways, don't worry. And again, like I mentioned, it wasn't the big open world RPG that I kind of thought it was going to be and that I kind of hoped it would be. So it's a much more story-driven, linear experience than that. And as a result, you get a lot of curated locations as well. So it's not all bad. Like there was a lot of scenes that you really just couldn't get if it was an open world game, like the escape tunnel that she's running through. Everything's collapsing around her and she goes sliding through it, right? None of that really could happen in a massive open world game. Well, I guess you could have set pieces in a massive open world game, but you don't tend to get them very often. So hopefully this game's linear nature allowed for more of those cutscenes, more story-driven work, and more curated set pieces and all of that stuff. But let me know what you guys think of this. The game isn't exactly what I thought it would be, and I know a lot of people were turned off by the monetization of the game. If we bring up the page here, you can see how they're monetizing the game. It's $70 for the base game. It's $110 for the gold edition, which is going to give you the base game plus the pre-order bonus, which is cosmetics. You got these 2 cosmetics, and then early access 3 days, and then a season pass, which gives you 2 different DLCs, a Jabba's Gambit one. And I think that was the one that really upset a lot of people because they felt like Jabba is essential to the game. How are you going to take some of that content out and sell it separately as a DLC? And Ubisoft said, no, don't worry. Like, Jabba is a main storyline in the entire game. Like, he's a big part of it. You're going to get tons of Jabba without this DLC. This DLC just adds more Jabba. Take that for what you will. And then you've got the $130 version, which gives you all of that, plus a couple more cosmetic packs, a digital art book. And then finally, you've got the Ultimate Edition, which is going to be $18 a month. And it's going to give you everything in the Ultimate Edition, which could be the best deal for people that just want to play the game, play through it once, and then come back to it maybe, possibly if a DLC comes out that they're interested in. With this one, you would be able to pick up Ubisoft Plus for 1 month right before the game comes out, play through it, beat it easily in a month. You could probably beat it multiple times, right? And boom, you're in and out of this game for $18. So a lot of people are upset because this game seems to be so expensive, but in reality, this could be the cheapest Ubisoft game you've ever bought because you can get the whole thing for $18. I did read into this Ubisoft Plus. It says you can renew and cancel anytime you want. So you could do 1 month of it, cancel, and then when the due DLCs are out, you can do another month and get those. So you could play the whole game for $40, you know, or less than $40, you know, DLCs included. And because it says you also get the pre-order bonus, you get the 3 days early access, you get the 2 cosmetic packs and the digital art book with this version. It seems like they really are trying to incentivize the Ubisoft Plus here because it's just such a, I mean, it's an incredible deal, frankly, like a AAA game like this for $18. I know a lot of people were upset about this, and I totally get why. It's the dollar amounts, and then 3 days early access kind of rubs people the wrong way, but we're seeing it more and more. And then of course DLCs, one of which is a day 1 DLC. So it's a DLC that you get at launch. I'm not a big fan of taking content and selling it to you on the same day that you bought the base game. I'm not sure that's worth the reputation hit that they're going to take. There are Star Wars fans out there that are just going to be willing to drop an extra $40 on this game to get a couple cosmetics, get early access and all of that. But hey, if that's not you, you can get this for $18. Take advantage of this if you want it, but you don't want to feed into this and then just cancel it after 1 month. So you're in and out for $18. You get your cake and you get to eat it too that way. Anyways, guys, let me know what you guys think of the game. Let me know what you think of the gameplay that you saw specifically. Are you more excited for it after seeing their gameplay? Are you less excited for it after seeing their gameplay? Is it what you thought it was going to be? Or what were you hoping it was going to be? Let me know down in the comments below. I would love to hear your thoughts on this one because I am always itching for another good Star Wars game. So I'm curious to see what you guys think of this one. Personally, I'm definitely going to be picking it up and playing my way through it because I am sci-fi RPG deprived. There's not enough of them out there and I love sci-fi. And so when one finally comes out and it's a AAA game, I'm going to go ahead and give it a try. Massive shout out to my YouTube channel members. Thanks so much for supporting the channel in the big way you guys do. If you want to become a channel member for perks like behind the scenes footage, a private Discord channel where you can ask me anything and more, be sure to click the join button down below. If you haven't already, consider subbing and hitting that bell notification for more RPG content. Until the next video, guys, I'll see you in the next one. I did like that.